today's been a little rough. Warming up the truck, got a shower in, got the Kirk in. We're gonna head over to Missoula to an RV park to get a new tie down. We're gonna stop by Walmart to get a new SD card and some things for storage and get fuel, and then we'll be on our way. Well, this ain't good. We pulled over at a rest stop because my truck went into limp mode. My overdrive light, which is right here, started blinking. That means it goes into limp mode. And the only code that we have is a pretty generic P178, which is like an open circuit somewhere. And that can be either at the PCM, it's a PCM code, or it could be at the transmission control module. So we're gonna be here for a minute trying to figure out what's going on. I don't have a whole lot of knowledge when it comes to transmission, but there's a ton of sensors that this thing relies on, from the PCM all the way to the vehicle speed sensor to shift. So I wasn't able to get a whole ton of footage on my phone because it's completely full. So we did the next best logical thing and picked up a GoPro. But gotta update you guys on the truck. When we got the truck initially, the transmission ended up being really bad. The case was actually cracked, and initially we were having issues, but come to find out that the previous owner attempted to fix this thing with a lot of JB weld, which is not good. We ended up we had to replace the whole thing. It was a very costly endeavor. Now, the type of transmission that this truck has is called an E40D. I think it stands for electronic 4-gear with an overdrive. And that transmission's obviously no longer made, with it being a 30-year-old truck, but it's kind of known for being very temperamental. So there were only a handful of places that are actually even still building these from scratch or even refurbishing these. One of these being Jasper Motors. In the past, with my dad being a mechanic, we've had good luck with that company, so I decided to go with them, and I went with a Stage 1 Jasper tranny, which is supposed to be better for towing. So the transmission's brand new, but on our drive up here, the overdrive light began blinking, and usually that's an indication of it going into limp mode, which usually prohibits you from going into overdrive. So sometimes you may even experience some like harsh shifts as your transmission is either not getting good enough signal to know when to shift, or something else could be wrong mechanically. So instead, when it goes into limp mode, you're usually going to get full line pressure when it shifts, so it's going to be kind of hard. Fortunately, we weren't getting any of the hard shifts, but we lost our overdrive, which means that our RPMs are very high going on the interstate. So pulled over, that's when I started recording, but ran out of space. And basically what I did is I have a Bluetooth, like a dongle, it's an OBD2 scanner that you plug into the truck, and an app, and it will tell me what codes are on there. And the code that we were seeing is a P1748, which is usually an EPC open circuit fault code. Now that could be because of intermittent connectivity, and it is very common for the harness that goes into that transmission to become damaged, either from weather, from use, from heat, from a rodent, from it just burning out. Very common. So that's the first thing I looked for, and you know, fortunately the harness looks good. They even sell harness repair kits for that tranny. So it doesn't appear to be the case that that's what the issue is. And the other thing that code is commonly referring to is a bad EPC solenoid, and that is your electronic pressure sensor or electronic pressure solenoid. Now, it's a brand new transmission, so it shouldn't be experiencing that fault code at all. But we let the truck cool down. I went and used the restroom, Kirk used the restroom, and by the time we got back and I started it up, it came out of limp mode. Now, just from my knowledge, when those solenoids usually go out, you usually get a code and then it disappears, and then you'll get a code again and then it disappears, and that becomes more frequent until it's just on all the time and it's dead. So at that point, I started calling around transmission shops. We found a place called Greg's Transmission Shop here in Missoula, Montana. And they're not necessarily a Jasper dealer, but Jasper will work with, they have a nationwide warranty. So they seem to have good reviews, and it's a small mom and pop shop, which I do tend to prefer to work with a small mom and pop shop as opposed to like a big corporate thing. There's some favoritism there on my part. And they've been great. Will, the guy called for like an hour. He was just picking up, just banging that phone, trying to figure out if he could get me a part. Unfortunately, he can't. It is a pretty rare transmission at this point, so Jasper is overnighting the part. Currently, I'm not in limp mode, and even if it goes into limp mode, the cool thing about this truck is that I could still drive it. You're not going to be able to drive as fast, and you're going to have to take back roads and that kind of thing. Not a big deal. We've kind of been doing that anyway. But I decided to stay in town, so we're going to be boondocking, which is basically where you stay in parking lots of businesses that allow you to for one night. And we're going to see if that part arrives tomorrow, because if it does, that shop has said that they'll do what they can to make room to squeeze us in and bang the job. And luckily enough, it's not a very extensive job. You do have to drop the pan, all the coolant comes out. It's like 2 or 3 bolts. Take it out, put it in, put in new coolants, slap the plate, put it in the coolant, and then you're good to go, hopefully. We're also still only assuming that the EPC solenoid is the issue. Now, spec ohm ratings is supposed to be between 3.5 and 5, but we're reading like 6.5. And that's without removing the pan to expose the tranny to actually test it from the inside. Kirk's down here, he's chilling. And I'm opening up the package because I've never used a GoPro before. It was so freaking loud last night. I think it started to quiet down at about 11:30. But this parking lot is very noisy. We're right next to a major roadway, obviously, and the traffic was absolutely insane. Good morning, Kirk. Hi. Got a big old chunk of grass over here, so we've been walking around out here. Today we're mostly just going to be sticking around town waiting to hear about that EPC solenoid showing up. I'll walk you guys through today what my scan tool looks like and how we were able to determine that that's what we think it is. But right now we're waiting to see if that part's even going to arrive. Jasper overnighted it to us today, but that means it's probably arriving late in the day, so if at all. So if it arrives this evening, we might be able to slam it out tomorrow morning, which would be superb, but there is still a risk. We open up the transmission pan and we find more issues. It could compromise our trip going to Glacier National Park, and that is a reservation I'm really trying not to cancel at that KOA, because there are fees associated with canceling in that short of notice, and it's hard for them too. It's Memorial Weekend, and it's supposed to be a busy weekend, and I'm essentially taking up somebody else's space that could be there, so I get it. But we're in a bit of a bind today, a bit of a pickle, so we're gonna cross our fingers and hope for the best. It is quite the interesting town. It's very pretty, so freaking green everywhere. I don't know if you can see that in the distance, but there's Still snow. Oh, that's a nice truck. Woo! All square bodies are coming back. Okay, so we need to install this guy. On the one I lost over here. So, put this down for now. Over here, I gotta undo this mess. It worked though. This is the thing I haven't used before, so you assemble it with a block nut, washer, and then a lock nut. And then there's a little indicator here. So, assuming we want to go that way, something like that. And then we have to tighten this down. Not really sure how much we need to go yet. See, that's obviously too loose. But now that's in the way. So how does that work? So I wonder if I can take those ones and move it to the back and then move this to the front. I might have to do that. Okay, let's see here. This is turning into a bigger disaster than I thought. Might have to return these if I can't get them to work. So, what if we take these guys and we try putting them on the back instead? That might work. That is maxed out. And that is not near enough. The guy told me yesterday this would work. Of course, that's what I get for taking somebody's advice as opposed to just checking myself. Can we get it to work this way? Even that's enough space. Oh, I was going the right way. That's maxed out. And that is not near enough space. Lovely. Try this again. So that's the problem. The bolt comes, I don't know if you can see that, the bolt comes so far up that I can't get a good latch on this. And I am hesitant to go to the one back here because we're getting awfully close to the camper and you want plenty of space. Something like that. Well, that might work. That might work actually. It's pretty close though, man. That's not bad. When I get home, I can always grind this off to make more space. So I think I am going to keep them, and I'm just going to have to modify these. I've also got a Sawzall that I can lop off the end. It's just not going to be very clean. When I get the tranny worked on, I can ask those guys if they can lop a section of it off for me. That would probably be best. But this definitely needs to go a bit tighter. The problem now is that I can't get, there it goes. How should that move? That'll move more. Oh, I like that. I gotta put this one back on. Oy. Go. Oops. And then I can tighten it right here. Going the right way? Yep. Same thing here. You want the, as soon as I tighten that, we want it to extend to about 1/4 of an inch. Oh, that's too much. That's pretty good right there. There, bring this locking nut. I like this style a lot more, but they didn't have that. But I guess that's more adjustable if I lop off the end, so. Then you take this locking nut and you just tighten that down. There you go. And then take this guy through. I need to bend that a little more, but that's what it is. And then, is this guy gonna be strong enough? I think there's room to make it go a little more. I wish this was adjustable here. Ooh. There it goes. All right, we're gonna try that for now. See what happens. Uh-oh. Another problem. Okay. No, I can't get this guy in, really? Well, so far these things really suck. What the hell? The holes aren't aligned when they pre-drilled these out. See how they're like at an angle? I might have to drill this out. It almost goes in. So those are aligned, those are not. Okay, so this goes in, except for the last one. That last one's giving me grief, so we might have to drill this out. So we're probably gonna have to. Look at that. Completely off aligned. Ridiculous. There it is. There should be a hammer on the back of that. Yes, there is. Yep, that's not gonna work. Can you see it now? How bent out it is? Of course, I need this to work because we're in a hot situation. So thank you, Torque Lift, for amazing quality control. So good, guys. You did so good. I'm so glad it took one of your customers to have to find an issue with one of your products. Isn't that just peachy? Coming from the manufacturing world, guys, I am very over people's designing methods and manufacturing methods as well. Okay, so other options. I can drill this out, and I think that's probably what I'm gonna end up doing here. And I brought some, here we go, bada bing. Whole Cummins. Truthfully, I think I'm a Cummins fan more than a Powerstroke fan. I know y'all are gonna hate me for that, but that can work. Let's go to a bit smaller. Let's try a bit smaller first. Okay. Now, do you want to go in? Not quite. Not quite. So, let's go a little more. Let's try now. There we go. Got a little bit of room to squeeze that in if we need to. Anyway, so that's why I brought all these freaking tools. God. Oh Lord. Sorry guys, I have not been having very good days, which is a shame. There's no such thing as a bad day with what we're doing, but there are, unfortunately. Okay, so I want to show you guys what I used yesterday to diagnose the truck, and I picked up one of these a while back. It's an OBD Link, but it uses Bluetooth or Wi-Fi, and so you can hook this up with another app, and you can diagnose and check your trouble codes. There's this thing called ForScan. Now, ForScan is much more powerful if you use a laptop, but to my knowledge, it's not Linux or Mac capable right now, so you're basically stuck using a Windows computer. So I don't want to go through the trouble right now of setting up a virtual machine on my laptop, so I just use my phone. And my OBD port is right there. Oop, backwards. Nope, I had it right the first time. Oh, right there. There we go. Then I'm gonna go into settings, and I need to connect it via Bluetooth first. Right there. Okay, so now that we're connected there, I'm gonna go to my ForScan app and go to connect. And I believe this app is only for like Fords, Mercurys, Lincolns, like older vehicles. Oh, and don't be a dummy like me. You got to have the key on. Okay, so ignition is on. Now we'll try to connect. And it might have you cycle it on and off sometimes too, so you can see this little bar. It's doing its thing. There we go, and we're connected. So you have a bunch of stuff on here. You have tests, which is pretty cool, so you can go through and do whatever tests are available on the system. In particular, the injector electrical self-test is really handy on these trucks because the valve covers actually have a wire harness that runs through them to actuate the injectors, and those can fry and go bad, so that will tell you which ones are bad, only if it's an electrical issue. Then we go to errors, and this is how I found the error, so it would tell you if anything was right here. And I took a screenshot yesterday. These are the faults that I had recorded on the PCM yesterday, and PCM is just powertrain control module. This over turbocharger boost thing, don't worry about it. This is because I have a stage 1 KC turbo in, and the map sensor, if it starts reading too much boost, will actually start limiting the amount of fuel. They sell like boost foolers and stuff that you can put on, but I'm not really worried about it. I pretty much try to stay under 20 psi at all times anyway. So right here, this is the big issue. P1748 EPC circuit fault. So that's electronic pressure control, I think. And what's cool about this app is I had to screenshot it because I cleared the codes, but when you click on that little arrow, it will give you kind of a rough guesstimation of what possible causes are, as well as potential issues that have been seen in the past. So right now it's telling us that there's an open circuit or a short circuit. Possible causes could be the wiring harness, the transmission control module, and then it kind of tells you what to do first. And this is basically what I did first, is took a look at the wiring harness to see what the issue was. Unfortunately, it's reading the incorrect ohms, so the reason why we're getting open circuit, short circuit is probably because the EPC solenoid is going bad. That's the current understanding and suspicion that both I and the transmission techs have, especially because the transmission is so new. It's very likely that that EPC is just going out. It's also possible it was never a good one in the first place, so we'll find out once we're able to tear into the transmission and actually do a test directly on the EPC itself. So hopefully we don't find anything else, but yeah, that's how we did it yesterday. Let's go do a walkthrough on the camper. We'll get the dog in the truck, and let's get warming this guy up actually. So wait to start. Gotta wait for that to go away because that's getting the glow plugs warm. There we go. Oh, also, that's not just getting the glow plugs warm. There's also a small heater in the fuel bowl that's heating up the fuel, and that's so that if you have any type of gel, because diesel, when it gets too cold, will start to gel up. That will help melt it, but having warmer fuel will also help this thing start up, because diesel's just, they don't like to be ran in the cold. They need to be warm, and they take a while to warm up. So, whoo, smoky girl this morning. Once she's warm, it stops, but that could be future injector troubles, or they do burn pretty rich when they first start anyway. So, how about it, bud? You ready to go? All right, chilling is over. We gotta go. Wait. Okay. Right. Hold on, buddy. This door don't like to stay open. Oh. There we go. And he's all set. Watch your face, booger. Currently running at about 158 watts of solar, so I'm gonna go ahead and turn my DC to DC charger on so it can run the fridge. Good, shut. Okay. Next, I'm gonna turn this on high idle. Lights need to be on for that to work, so push it there. And the reason why I've got this guy hooked up with just a cigarette lighter instead of hardwired is because if I take the truck camper off, I don't want that to be a permanent object. I want to be able to rip that out and take it out when I don't need it. And then turn this on so I can charge my phone. and also turn on my dash cam, because everybody this day and age should have a dash cam, trust me. Lock our doors, and that's our startup sequence. I'm trying the whole headband thing to see if you guys like the POV view, but I gotta admit, I feel very goofy wearing this thing. Everyone has been staring at me in the parking lot, and it's a little weird. People are just kind of looking at me, and I feel very goofy wearing this thing. And it poofs out my hair because it's just like a strap, so maybe I need to wear a hat and then wear it or something. But I feel very goofy wearing this. This is strange. Okie doke. All right, let's get going. It's not a very... And so number 4 is just my regular towing mode, and it stretches out the gears a little bit, and it's supposed to give you like 20 extra horsepower, but I can't tell the difference. I think it just helps change the shift points so that you can stretch out those gears just a little bit more. All right, let's go. All these gauges as well. The very top one here is my transmission temperature. It's very important to keep that. I try to keep it under 200, but you do not let it go past 220. If it starts getting up to 220, you pull the hell over and you start letting that thing cool. You go downhill, you drive in a lower gear, whatever you need to do given the situation to make sure that your temps don't get that high. The next one is my exhaust gas temperature, or your exhaust temperature. This is the temperature of the exhaust through the manifold as it's leaving the engine. This is important. I try to keep it under 11, and you don't want it to get too hot, because then you could start burning out like your up pipe gaskets. And once you get an exhaust leak, then your turbo doesn't work like it's supposed to, and then you have a diesel without a turbo, which is a huge loss in power. This is my fuel. So standard operating fuel is somewhere between 45 and 50 psi. You'll see it dip down if I put my foot in it, but generally you'll see it hover just above 40. At idle, it's about 40, 45. Oh, this guy wants to go and cut in front. That's fine. I don't know which way we're going, so we're just gonna get behind this guy. This whole thing came as a kit, and the boost gauge down here, which is for the turbo, came with a boost gauge that went to like 80 or like something just obnoxiously crazy. And look, I'm not building a race machine. Like, max I want this thing at is like 25 psi, so I went ahead and got a different one and put that in here instead. And it works pretty good. I opted for the analog gauges just because I like analog gauges more, but I have to be honest, there's some clusters out there that are digital that give you way more readings, significantly more accurate, but it's another screen, and I feel like I've got enough screens in here. I mean, there's 1, 2, 3 already, and then I'd have a 4th hanging around somewhere, so I don't know. I opted for the manual gauges here. Another reason I did that is because the digital gauges, the little cluster, I've seen that thing freeze up, and it's just another computer to have to worry about having problems with. And guys, look, I come from tech. I promise you, if it has a screen, you're gonna get bugs, you're gonna get issues with it. It's just the way it is. So I wanted something as simple as possible. And granted, these are only so accurate too, but so far, these guys, specifically this guy here, my fuel pressure, has helped me diagnose a lot of issues with this truck. So I do recommend on any diesel truck that you get these gauges. Some of the newer diesel trucks actually already monitor this stuff. So getting a digital readout is actually more beneficial for you. And there's another app called Torque Pro, and there's some modules that you can get that will work with your truck to allow you to see that stuff through CarPlay, which is pretty cool. I think it's called Torque Pro or something like that.